Hello, lovely people. Alex White coming to you from Raven's Nest, and today having a conversation with Dean above me, at least in my profile here. How are you, Dean?
Hi, how you going, Alex? Good to see you.
Very good to see you. I'm super well, very summered, and we're looking forward to greeting you here for a retreat coming up. So we thought we'd have a chat. For people who don't have time or attention spans, that is on Thursday, the 1st of May through to Sunday, the 4th of May coming up. It's an all-inclusive retreat. We're going to talk about it a fair bit here. We've got some brilliant food, brilliant practices. And to get going, I mean, the context of why this is happening to some degree is Dean and I just spent some time together in Europe. God, that feels like a lifetime ago in August 2024 at the Fighting Monkey Intensive. And we were doing all sorts of interesting things there, being pulled across the ground with karate belts and dropping basketballs on each other's heads and all the things, lots of wrestling, lots of really creative movement play. And I definitely am super inspired to bring that into more people's lives. You're obviously a professional at doing that with all the different groups that you're working with. So, can you tell us initially a little bit more about Moving Puzzles, your business and offering, and like who you work with and how that plays out for you?
Yeah, Moving Puzzles is have a mission to help bring more play into the world. Basically, I came from a background of a lot of organized team sport and had a few of my own individual practices, spending 16 years in the gym. And eventually, I became kind of injured, as some people do, and also someone who likes to be a bit playful was looking for some different ways about thinking about things. So, Moving Puzzles is trying to bring playfulness in the world and um, I remember seeing this video, What is Fighting Monkey? And Joseph and Linda, who were the founders, who are basing their practice on trying to bring creative thinking and rehabilitation into a playful way. They were playing this game where you try and touch the feet of the other people while you're trying to touch their hand, and there's this like nice back and forward. That is playful and safe, but also very developmental, athletically and rehabilitation wise. And I got thinking with moving puzzles that I could use this kind of thought process to share creativity and how to get people unstuck from their habits, whether they be habits that are causing them injury or habits that are causing them some leadership woes or trouble for their well-being in general. So,
Yeah, I think we
mm,
we probably saw the same video at the same time when that came out. And we are like, what is
yeah,
this? It was on some hill in Greece, and
yeah, Greece,
um,
yeah.
for me, yeah, I was into animal mimicry at the time, or still am, but I was getting into it at the time, and it was like, yeah, I want to get there. But unfortunately, at the time, it was pretty unavailable. They were only training in Europe, and it seemed a world away. So, yes, certainly to get to the intensive last year was a bit of a full loop for me. I'm glad you saw it and then actually like got into it properly.
Yeah.
You've obviously already got a background in sports, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about that. What groups are you working with at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment, so I work with like more of a pure movement kind of audience for running classes that are around kind of, let's say, functional training blended with playfulness. So more of a health and body perspective. Another kind of group is in universities. So having had a lot of experience in the corporate sector, also an artificial intelligence researcher for 19 years. Um, I also like to have a lot of interaction with students. And so working in universities to trying to share self-development concepts of how to think creatively, how to develop relationships with people, um, how to create conversations and be innovative and these kinds of topics in the university kind of environment. And then thirdly, which is a little bit less in my work, but would like to increase, is kind of a team development aspect. I've also been a coach of elite team sport for around 10 years as well. So I have a quite a deep, also played sport for nearly 40 years, I worked out the other day. Quite a deep understanding of teams and how they are able to organize themselves together around goals. So these kind of three groups. Mm.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth mentioning, given that this retreat is for anyone and people of all sort of movement abilities and backgrounds. We were talking off air just before this, but you did a session with your mum this morning. I've been teaching my mum
Yeah.
rope flow on the weekend. Uh, the style of what you're teaching, and certainly some of your Instagram as well, have people of all ages, and I guess
Yeah.
without hedging around it too much, some elderly people whose movement is, I guess, somewhat extremely limited, but that you can still access certain things through that. It's not just
Yeah.
for professional athletes.
Yeah. My dad's in his late 70s and mum's in her late 60s, and they enjoy this practice. It's really for everyone. We say it's for everyone, but we say it's for everybody. It wouldn't matter whether you have an incredibly athletic, able body or a very yeah, a less mobile body that is a little bit older. You know, my grandma had dementia, and so she lost a lot of her cognitive abilities. And I still remember the day she forgot who I was.
Mhm.
And yeah, I sort of don't want for people that they have to go through life not be able to train their brain in fun ways. You know, we have the crossword puzzles and we have the, you know, reading of the books and things, but it would be nice if we could also do this in a moving practice. So having this brain training aspect that is somewhat active, so also healthy for our organs, I think is really important. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, my selfish focus in terms of Fighting Monkey is longevity. In general, it's not necessarily so I can dance better or move
Yeah.
around. It certainly has those aspects to it, but I do these sort of crazy coordinations that maybe you can tell us a bit more about why we do some of those things as well. Not just because they're fun, but I can feel them like in the moment, really messing with my mind in the best possible way, and to be able to simmer in that confusion and get relaxed within those contexts is so helpful on all the things. So yeah, I want to emphasize that it's not just a movement practice, it's not a movement modality, it's a whole body training, and I really look forward to having that because, frankly, there's not much of it on offer in Australia. Certainly in Melbourne, it is, you can seek it out here and there irregularly, but I'm really excited that you're offering this, and have a lot of gratitude for you doing so. So I look forward to people making inquiries, whether they're yoga students, whether they're dancers, whether they're into sports, whether they just want to work on the creativity and innovation side of things. I think it will play out super well for them. What does this retreat look like for you? There's a description on the event page. It has lots of wild and wonderful words in there. What do some of them mean?
Yeah, so maybe it's good just to walk through what a day might kind of feel like. So we would have some practices that are a little bit more individually focused in the morning. So we're up in the morning, maybe we'll be in your beautiful nature space there, hopefully outside, seeing the sunrise. And we're doing some practice that is, let's say, some moving forms. It could look a little bit like a Tai Chi, something like this. And the idea there is that we're sort of doing a self check-in. Is probably the easiest way to describe it. We check in, we see how we feel, we really see how our joints feel. And in this practice, which is part of the Fighting Monkey thinking of zero forms, we're trying to understand what has happened yesterday and in the rest of our life behind us that is having an effect that we can feel today, and see if we can kind of reset in some sense, develop our movement a little bit better. So it's kind of an internally focused morning. And then hopefully some beautiful breakfast by one of your lovely caterers who will give us some lovely local home cooked food. After that, we would move into some improvisation practice. So people probably have a bit of an intuition for what improvisation is, but sort of the conception from a moving puzzles perspective is that we're trying to bring a little bit of surprise and uncertainty, um, and yeah, just try and break us out of our habits of moving. So, you know, if people some dance music comes on. People are used to like bouncing up and down in a certain rhythm, and this is lovely. But sometimes we would need some more constraints and different moving options to get the body a bit more revitalized in a more broad way. So this is how some dancers would study to improve their movement and their cognition. So that would be another individual kind of practice. And then we would probably be going on to some movement games. And this is where you can have a look on the event page, and you can see that I've got a lot of background, a lot of different moving arts, whether they be a parkour or an animal flow, or different kind of strength trainings, wrestling, dance, martial arts, and we try and make those the playful practice, the interactions, like you mentioned, having basketballs dropped on you, dragged across the ground, these kinds of movement games, a little bit of silliness, but the idea here is we can't develop all of our movement and creativity practices by ourselves. We really need other people to give us that feedback. So this interactive approach is then really important. And then after a beautiful lunch, we would move into the coordinations that you mentioned. So easiest way to understand coordinations, maybe I can just tell you about the study that I kind of read recently, which was trying to understand from a population of around 20 or 30 adults. They did an 18-month program to study whether if one group who was doing a dance-based training where they would learn choreographies versus another group where they would just do repetitive exercise. Of course, both groups, the results were that both groups, it was good for them. You know, it was both good for their body. They were both exercising. So this is wonderful. But the ones who were doing repetitive exercise, it was nowhere near as good for their brain. And in fact, the ones that were doing this dance choreography was a very special study, and this is related to Fighting Monkey and Moving Puzzles. They would be learning a choreography that's always changing. So that we're always having to learn something new and try and understand, oh, the teacher has changed something now. I need to learn that, and I need to understand what's going on. And this is a little bit metaphorical to the real world where things are always changing and we need to adapt. So a coordination practice looks a bit like a dance, but in terms of learning, it feels a little bit different.
And I think just if I can in there for a second there, Dean, it's worth mentioning, just in case people think we're, I don't know, perhaps learning like a hip hop routine or something.
Yeah.
It's not that. There's nothing particularly wrong with hip hop at all. I can't do it very well. But these are coordinations where we're dealing with like multi-axis. The arms, the hands, the legs are doing something. You might be looking left, moving right. It's a complexity soup that we sort of step into. And yeah, I mean, the one in the FM intensive, it didn't kill me. I mean, I managed to roll my ankle on the first day, so it was pretty difficult to do anything. But you can feel the brain working hard to both remember all these steps, but because we're doing them as a group and you're sort of iterating it over time, you just start to get into it. And as long as you relax and keep moving, just for the people who may be fearful about the word choreography, and it's a lot of fun. And look, if it's the one thing, you know, it's not all this choreography. If it's the one thing that is more difficult and the rest is very playful and fun for you, great. If it's the one thing you super love, there is definitely a lot of different things going on during this retreat. Some of them will be more attractive than others. Some of them will be easier than others. But all of them super beneficial.
Yeah, it's a very good point. In the coordinations, everyone's a little bit put on the same playing field. We're all struggling to learn together, and this is a beautiful metaphor for life since it's happening every day. Anyway, yeah, and then moving into, sorry, you're going to say something?
No. I was going to ask you to move into the afternoon.
Yeah, so into the afternoon, that's when this kind of extended period would be moving a bit more back into the movement situation. So this partnering group work, hopefully then we would move a bit more out into your nature spaces, maybe do some work in the trees or on the beach or in the sand, and try and explore how we can give inspiration from the natural environment and that world, and how our interacting bodies and the world is coming together in a nice way. So And then to finish the day in a little bit of a nice closing loop, we would then finish again with that individual practice so we can a little bit revitalize, revisit the individual body moving, that kind of Tai Chi style to go, all right, now I can reset. Because it's really important for me that, like I said, I came from this team sport background and gym, where a lot of the culture there is a little bit to destroy your body, to work really hard and to just feel like I'm really sore. We would like and I would like for everyone in this retreat to, at the end of every day, feel better than they did at the beginning of the day, and every day after that feel better than the day before. And so we want to finish the day with this revitalizing kind of feeling, and our practices are arranged in a way that will be present for everyone.
Yeah, excellent. I think in terms of the space and how that's going to help with revitalizing as well, we've got the new sauna in place so people can enjoy that on the daily, the spa, the cold dip there for people to recover as quickly as possible. And I'm just finding bathing in general just such a relaxing thing. So yeah, that sounds like a super full day. And what you are offering there is 3 full days of practice. The opportunity is to come in on the first, then the second, third, fourth, full days of practice, and out on the 5th. And yeah, I think that 3-day format it works really well here, and is enough for people who perhaps are very proficient, and for those that are coming in pretty fresh, is plenty for them to digest. So yeah, thanks for doing that more extended format rather than just a 2-night weekend sort of thing. Yeah, well, it sounds super full. I'm wondering what else there is to cover in all of that. Anything come to mind as we were talking through the format?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe people who've been to retreats before, I'm not sure if they have, but uh, personally, I find retreats to be extremely refreshing, and they can be somewhat transformative. I remember when I did wasn't even a movement retreat, it was a leadership-based retreat. It was in the Adelaide Hills, because I live in Adelaide, and it was kind of in the bush, and you're being guided through certain experiences, a little bit challenging each day, and just developing some deep relationships with the other people that you're both having fun with and struggling with throughout the time. And so this ability to kind of switch off and come outside your normal world and give some time to yourself, I think is really valuable.
Absolutely. And it feels like it's going to be a really interesting group of people, quite an eclectic mix. It won't necessarily all be one kind of person or kind of mover. Yeah. And yeah, as you mentioned, food very briefly, we've booked Amakai, an excellent caterer, to do some amazing local food for us. So we'll be well fed, well moved, well rested. And yeah, it's really lovely to host you and have you come over from your home there in Adelaide. And yeah, super looking forward to I think it really does combine quite a lot of the things I love, and getting outside within this movement practice is such a major benefit. We do it with maybe some other things that happen here on the theatrical side of things with Butoh, and maybe with body landscape, body weather, but they have lots of things, but they don't have this playful focus on creativity and the body games. And when we say body, we're literally talking about people working in partnership. And it's just something you can't get, like even at ecstatic dance, when we're being playful with each other, or perhaps even in something more on the serious side, like wrestling, you're there with an intent to wrestle and possibly to win. With this one, and I would like you to jump into this philosophy a little bit more. You're not, maybe you're feeling a bit competitive, and maybe you're just competing with yourself and trying to get better. But I love all the body paired games, because being down here by myself a little bit, it's important to be able to bounce up against someone else and what they're doing. And I'm pretty sure I'm thinking about the right retreat that Joseph was going on about, this sort of, we're not playing to win here, people. We're playing so that we can keep playing the game.
Yeah.
How is that normally phrased? You go.
Yeah, it's like the finite player is playing a game that has a beginning and the end, and they're trying to beat the other person. So it's like, I win only if you lose. I beat you, Alex, until you lose, and then it's a zero-sum game. I win 1 point for me.
Mhm.
In this kind of thinking we're going for in the wrestling, well, a couple of things. One thing is we take away the idea that we're going to hurt each other. We're actually trying to nourish each other and feel really good afterwards. So keeping this in mind, when we say wrestling, we really more mean something like a bit soft play fighting, like you would do with a child. That can be more competitive or less. But yeah, we're trying to go for this idea that we would develop, if you and I are doing a wrestling game, like I'm trying to hug you on the back, but you don't want me to hug you on the back, then that might be impossible if you really don't want me to, right? And so if you just keep your front to me the whole time, I will maybe never get there, or you just run away. So what's the point of this? Instead, the idea is that you are giving me opportunities and trying to understand, okay, Dean seems to be really good at going around this way, but not so good about going around that way. And so we're trying to use the partnership and the playfulness and the wrestling situation and the touch and the hugs to really develop this skill of being able to play with anyone and get something out of it. I mean, I still remember when I first started this work and I was doing some kind of practice like this with a woman who was around 30 to 40 years my senior. And I needed to find a way to play with her that I could still get something really value out of it. And what I found, being someone who was much heavier than her as well, that it really increased my sensitivity. So when she made some weight on me, it was very almost hard to perceive, you know? And then vice versa for her. How does she find a way to work in with that? So it's a beautiful concept, this not playing to win, playing to develop each other.
Yeah, and I think it creates this lovely feeling in the room of like a true safety in a way. It's not this is another topic for us to go into at another time, but people talk about safe spaces all the time. It's not so much for me that there's a safe space, it's that the people in the space are safe. And
Yeah.
And I think in what you're developing here and the rooms that I've been in with you before, when you've been facilitating, you've created these lovely spaces very quickly where people are doing weird and wonderful things. We're all feeling very free and permitted to do these things. And this feeling of safety in the body, I mean, I think it's a fundamental to moving. Why some people do moving practice is to not necessarily be more coordinated or creative. It's whatever. It's to feel this thing more, and in feeling it more and to be able to move it around the space more is to feel super safe, because one can move around and coordinate around and all the things. I would like to get into that more fundamentally, perhaps in another chat that we could have, why people move, or why people get better at
totally, it. But definitely briefly, I would just say that, the body is our, first of all, it's our first and last home. It's the only place we live. And it's a big source of presence and power for us and how we relate to the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I look forward to getting into that a little bit more. Perhaps we'll do another session before the retreat and get into that. I guess on that, if people have questions, obviously they can flick them directly to you. I imagine people may have a few questions before signing up. But all the details there are on the link below, above, beside this video. Is there anything else you'd like to sign off with?
Yeah, if there's any questions, it'd be very good. I'm super looking forward to coming to your beautiful nature space there. If people want to check out Alex's Raven's Nest Space website, you'll find a little tour video there I watched with the drone going over the property. You can see that it's pretty by itself there, which is pretty unique and wonderful. And all the native trees around. So being someone who really enjoys the outdoors and this feeling of silence and quietness, and I'm really looking forward to that, as well as be able to move with all the lovely people. So
exactly, and especially at the time of year you've chosen, very quiet down here. I imagine we'll do some walks to the ocean and pop out there and through the national park and just make use of all the things in the space. So yeah, that's always wonderful, sort of seeing this land anew through your eyes and what you want to do with the space.
looking forward to that.
That'll be fantastic. Okay, well, let's leave it there for the moment. If people have listened this far, well done. Obviously, you're interested. I hope you do get in contact with Dean, and we'll see you at the retreat later in the year.
Cool. See you later. Thanks, Alex.
Dean. Okay.
Bye.
Ciao.